So now we're going to go over noun clauses. And noun clauses, just like the adverb clause and the adjective clause, are clauses, dependent clauses, that act as a single part of speech. So basically, I want you to think of it this way. Every time you had a noun in another sentence, any example of any noun, you can actually put a clause there. So what do I mean? For instance, Kodak ran. Kodak is our subject. Well, that's a noun. So you can put a noun clause where Kodak is. No problem. We'll go over them shortly, but I just want to get these across to you. Kodak ran. Okay? He saw Kodak. Kodak is a noun. It's in a job. It's a direct object here in the second one. Anytime you have a noun, right? You have a noun role. You have a noun job. Subjects, direct objects, indirect objects, objects of prepositions, predicate nominatives. There are going to be more later on, about 10 or so. Anytime you have one of these, you can actually put a noun clause there. Okay? So keep this in mind, that all we're going to be doing is replacing these single nouns with noun clauses, just like we replace single adjectives with adjective clauses, single adverbs with adverb clauses. So you already know how to diagram adjectives, you already know how to diagram adverbs, you already know how to diagram nouns. Now all you're doing is just learning how to diagram a dependent clause that is a noun, which is just slightly different. So we have the adjective, adverb, and noun dependent clauses. Unlike adjective and adverb clauses, which are modifiers, right? Meaning that they modify, they give us more information about, if it's an adjective, about another adverb, adjective, or, excuse me, if it's an adverb, it modifies other adverbs, adjectives, or verbs. If it's an adjective, it modifies a noun. Here, noun clauses, they aren't modifiers. Noun clauses will be free to do many things in the sentence because they take noun jobs. They'll be doing noun jobs. And you know some noun jobs. Here's the list. I just mentioned some. Subjects, direct objects, indirect objects, objects of prepositions, predicate nominatives. Okay? So now you know any one of these, you're going to be able to put a noun clause. So what do we mean? Let's continue. Well, a noun clause, so this is our definition. A noun clause is a dependent clause. So that's what type it is. That's its, or it's, yeah, it's type. It's genus even if you want to make it smaller, but it's type, a dependent clause that can do a noun job. One of the dependent clauses, the distinguishing factor that makes it different than the other ones is that it does a noun job. So that's the definition. That's what you need to make your Quizlet flashcard on. Okay. Let's continue. Let us start with an example. I know Harry. So you've diagrammed this many times before. I know Harry. You have the I, which is our subject. You have the verb, know, and then you have the direct object, Harry. And you've diagrammed that many times. Now look, I know what I like. So think about that sentence. I know what I like. Well, I have the I, that's the subject. Here it is. Then I have the verb, I know. Okay. Now, what do you know? I know what I like. So if you think about it, if you think about this, imagine a little box, and I'll draw it here for you. A box that represents a direct object. I know Harry. Look at that first one again. Harry is a direct object. It's what you know. right? And then we diagram it appropriately. I know what I like. What is it that you know? It is what I like. So that whole thing is a direct object. And so it's going to go in the direct object place, right? It would go here. Okay. But because it's a clause, we have to diagram it a little funky. We have to make this little hangman. Okay. And then you diagram the clause as if it were a normal sentence on the hangman. That's it. So you have the I, the subject of the clause, right? And then you have the verb, like. And then within that clause, right, you have to rearrange it. You have the direct object, what? So if you look at that, I know what I like. What's the subject of the verb I like? It's I. Okay, so we have to put it first, just like we normally do with our subjects. What cannot be the subject? Because who's doing the liking? I is doing the liking. But the like what, right? And I mean, even when you ask the question, the answer is there. It's the what that is the direct object. So the direct object is going to go in the appropriate place. So direct object for the verb like. It's what is liked is what. I know it sounds a little funny, but this is how we're going to deal with noun clauses. So in the first sentence, Harry, a noun, is the direct object of the verb know. Harry receives the action of the knowing. He is what gets known. In the second sentence, what gets known, the whole clause, what I like. So what is the thing that is getting known, right? What gets known? It's I like what I like. It's the whole clause, what I like. Since the clause is the direct object, and since the direct object is a noun job, what I like is a noun clause. If it were all that simple. Okay, so it is that simple. Okay, she's going to complicate it a little bit, but think of it like this. I see a clause, right? If I'm looking at this sentence, I know what I like. I know what I like. First thing you do, identify the main clause, the main subject, the main verb. Well, I is the subject. That's the main, right? And then the verb, no, that's what I is doing. Okay, you have an extra clause now. You have an I and another like. You have another I like. So that extra clause, you have to figure out, well, what is it doing? You have to look at its role in the sentence. You say, well, I know. What I like is what I know. Okay, well, replace that with a single noun, like I know Harry. Okay, well, Harry would be the direct object. So what I like must be a direct object. Well, if it's a direct object, we know that nouns are direct objects. So this must be a noun clause. So that's one way of doing it. Okay, you look for the noun roles, and then you know you have a noun clause. The other trick, okay, most of the time this is going to work. We're going to see in a second when it doesn't, but most of the time, you see that subordinating conjunction, you know it's a adverb clause. You see that relative pronoun, most of the time, you know it's going to be a adjective clause. So memorize those relative pronouns. Now, notice that there is a pronoun, what. Right? That seems to introduce the noun clause in the way a relative pronoun introduced an adjective clause. But what is not a relative pronoun, right? It looks similar to those relative pronouns, but it's not a relative pronoun. For it does not refer to any noun in the sentence. There's no antecedent, right? That, if it were to be a relative pronoun, remember the relative pronoun refers back to something in the sentence. And you don't have that. What, where is the what? It doesn't refer to anything. It stands for the things the speaker likes. Suppose it stands for, let's see, hamburgers. Suppose we have the sentence, I know I like hamburgers. Okay, so another sentence. Same concept, same principles. Where's the subject? Where's the main subject? I. Where's the main? Here it is. We diagram it here. And then where's the main verb? Know and know. Okay, what do you know? It's that I like hamburgers. It's that whole thing. I like hamburgers. That's what I know. And so I'm going to put it in the direct object place. If it's a direct object, then it's a noun. It's a noun clause. So, but I'm going to diagram it. I like hamburgers. I have a subject. I have the verb like, and then I have another direct object in the direct object, right? Hamburgers. So you can have direct objects, and within those direct objects, there are other direct objects. This is very normal for language. You speak like this all the time. All we're doing is showing you, right, how we can break down your speech into parts so that you can later on build it back in new and interesting ways. It's going to help your writing and your speaking. So this is why this analysis, this diagramming is so important. Okay, so the point of that she was making here, I know I like hamburgers, there's no what, right? I like what? There is nothing that even looks like a relative pronoun. There is no pronoun at all. I know I like hamburgers. But then we have some complications. Of course, there's always going to be complications with grammar. Or not complications, but some difficulty. So then look at this. I know that I like hamburgers. This becomes a problem. Well, where would you put an extra that? Let's pull this together. What we have just seen is that sometimes direct object noun clauses begin with a pronoun that does a job in its own clause, like what. Sometimes the direct object noun clause has no introductory pronoun. I like hamburgers. There's no introductory pronoun. Sometimes direct object noun clauses have an extra that, which just sits on a sky hook. So we have, what is she saying here? Look at this sentence. I know that I like hamburgers. This that is extra. Now you may be worried and say, okay, well, I thought all I had to do was find relative pronouns. And if I found a relative pronoun, then I'd be able to find the adjective clause. And so that, it looks like a relative pronoun. So it must be that there's an adjective clause afterwards. So you may be thinking that, but how do we get around that? Okay, because what does a relative pronoun do? This is when you have to be really clear about the roles that these pieces of grammar play. The relative pronoun has to refer back to something. What's it referring back to? All right, if we were to make an arrow, where's it going? Doesn't go to I, no. Doesn't go to no. Doesn't go to I. It doesn't refer back to anything. If anything, it refers to this. I like hamburgers. That, I like hamburgers. That's the thing that's being referred to. So it doesn't refer back. If anything, it kind of refers forward. Okay, so it can't be a relative pronoun for that reason, right? Because you can't replace that with something that happened in the before it. Okay, that's one of the conditions. So that's going to be key here. Also, look at that. Does it have a role in the sentence here? I like hamburgers, the dependent clause. Because we saw before that all of the relative pronouns had some grammatical role in the adjective clause. But here it doesn't have a grammatical role. Why? Because we have a subject, right? No problem, we have the subject. Then we have the verb. Then we have a direct object. Well, what can the that do? I mean, is it modifying something? It's not doing anything. There's no grammatical connection with it. And so what do? We diagram it here as if it's extra. Okay, well, it is extra, not as if it is, but it is extra. Okay, and so now you can think about it. I know that I like hamburgers. You don't have to use that. I know I like hamburgers. Certain style guides will actually recommend that you take the that out. And there are certain reasons rhetorically for keeping it, but we'll cover those obviously not in grammar, but rhetoric. Now, before we get into noun clauses doing other noun jobs, let's diagram some noun clauses used as direct objects. Okay, so really quickly, where are the noun clauses that are acting as direct objects? Think about this first yourself. Pause the video if you need to. It'll help you if you actually do it first before I, go over the answers. So if we see, I heard, what did you hear? What you said. I saw, what did you see? What you did. So those are noun clauses that are direct objects. They're noun clauses that are direct objects. They have subject, verb, and they're acting as nouns. Number 2, did Nancy remember that you had called? What did Nancy remember? That you had called. So there's another one with an extra that. They should eat whatever you have cooked. Where is the noun clause here? Well, whatever you have cooked is what they should eat. So it's the direct object. I know whom I have believed. What do you know? I have believed whom? Whom I have believed. Could Mary be wishing she had not come? What is it that Mary could be wishing? It's that she had not come. That's our direct object. He said, I like Sally. So look, where's our direct object? What did he say? I like Sally. Okay. And so on. I like Sally, he said. Okay, so this is really important. When you have dialogue, what the person says is a direct object because you have a verb, said, or say, or what have you, will say, etc., any type of saying. And what is being said is the direct object because it's receiving the action of the verb said. I, he replied, like Sally. So here we have two direct objects, right? I, like Sally. I, he replied, like Sally. Two things he said. So those are two direct objects. Take what you can get your hands on. Okay, where is the direct object here? What are you taking? What you can get your hands on. That whole thing is our direct object. Now take is what kind of verb is it? You should know. Where's its subject? It's a command verb, and so it has an implied you. Do you finally understand what I'm talking about? What do you finally understand? What I am talking about. So that's a direct object. All of these that I've highlighted in green are the direct objects. Okay. So let's just diagram maybe just a couple here, just so you get the idea. So let's look at number 1. I heard what you said. What's that first part? We have two sentences, so we're going to diagram them separately on separate diagrams. I heard what you said. Okay, I heard what you said. So put up my little diagram. First thing I want to do, find the main subject and verb. What's the main subject there? What's the sentence about? I, right? That's our subject. Where's the verb? Heard, right? That's the main verb. So I'm going to put those into my diagram. I heard. Okay, now the question is, what about the rest of the sentence? Well, I have I have an extra subject and verb. You said. And then I have the what there. Okay. You said what, how do I complete it? You said what, right? The what is actually the direct object for said. It's just in a different place. But that whole thing, what you said, is a direct object. So I have to, for the verb heard. What did you hear? I heard what you said. What you said. Let me put it in a different color just so you can see it on the black screen. So then I'm going to diagram it. I have to diagram that whole direct object, which is a noun clause. I have to diagram it just like it is a noun clause, a normal sentence, but on this little hangman. So you don't have to make it so tall, obviously. So I draw another line. The whole hangman thing, little stand, is just to give you another line above it. Okay, I'm going to have a subject, I'm going to have a verb, and this one's going to have a direct object. So what is our subject here? You. You is the direct subject, the subject for the verb said. So I'm going to put, just do you, just put a Y, and let me actually make these smaller. So the Y is for you. You. Said, S is for said, right? What? What? That's the direct object. So there you go. Very easy, right? I just got to diagram the main clause first, and then the rest of the parts. Let's do the other second half. I saw what you did. Okay, first thing, always first thing. Where's the main subject? Where's the subject? I. Where's the main verb with that subject? What is I doing? He saw. I saw, right? Okay, what did you see? What you did. So that whole what you did is, you should know by now, direct object. Okay. So what do I do? Now this is, here I have the whole main clause in its main parts. I got the subject, I got the verb, and now I have the direct object. So create a diagram for that. So my subject, verb, right? So I'll put the subject, I. I'll put the verb, saw. But now I have a clause, which is a direct object. And so I have to do things a little different, right? Just do it in green. I gotta draw my little hangman. And then what you did, I have to diagram as if it's a sentence. What's the subject? You. What's the verb? Did. And then what is our direct object? So I'm going to get you did what? Oops. You did what? Easy. Very easy. Let's do one of the harder ones. So let's do number 9. Take what you can get your hands on. All right, first things first. We need our subject and verb, right? Well, we have the verb take, okay? It's just a command verb. And when we have the verb take, we know that we have an implied you. Just like if I said read, I'm referring to you. So I have you. You take what you can get your hands on. What is it that you are taking? It's what you can get your hands on. So how am I to diagram that? So what is the direct object? You can get your hands, right? What you can get your hands on. All right, we got to break that down. Ask yourself, where is the subject? Now, I know some of you may get intimidated because this is long, but you've done all of this before. So don't think it's tough, think it's easy. What you can get your hands on. Where's the main verb? Can get. Where's the subject? You can get, right? You is the subject. So I'm going to draw my little hangman because this whole thing is a direct object. It's a noun clause. It's a direct object. Need something like this. Okay. So our subject for the noun clause is you. You. Okay. And then I have my main verb, can get. Can get your hands on. Can get. What can you get? What can you get? Your hands. So hands is our what? Direct object. Oops. What's your doing? Your is modifying hands. Okay. Just put Y there. Now, what about on? Looks like a preposition just on its own. Okay. What's it modifying? If we look, right, well, here's a better question at first. Where's its object? Where's the object of the preposition? On. Take what you can get your hands on. You can get your hands. We've got that. But then we have on. On what? You can get your hands on what? When you have these whats, you got to find where they go in the sentence. So here, what is actually the object of the preposition. And so you're going to use it. It's going to modify. Me, it's modifying the verb. Can get. Okay. In the back of the book, there are a couple errors for the answer key on this one. For instance, it has an H, or it should say a Y for you. Okay, and then it puts this prepositional phrase on what, it puts it under hands, but I believe it's actually modifying here. It's modifying the verb. It's an adverb. Okay, so this is how you do it. Okay, all the same principles you've done before. All right, you have your subject, which is implied. You have your verb, and then you have this huge direct object, which is a noun clause. And because it's a clause, you just diagram it like a normal clause, except that you're going to put it on this funky little stick. And that's it. Those were not too hard, were they? Right? So notice that in 6, 7, and 8, that a direct quotation is the direct object of the attributive phrase, the he said, no matter what the word order. Okay, so if you diagram 6, 7, and 8, it doesn't matter where you put the thing being said, that's still the direct object. Before going on to noun clauses that aren't direct objects, perhaps we should look at some direct object noun clauses that look adverbial. I saw how he ate. I remember where he lives. I can guess why he left. I notice when he arrived. So all of these look like they're adverb clauses. Why do they look like that? Well, look at the word that's in them. It has how, where, why, when. Those are all adverb questions. But these are actually not, they're not subordinating conjunctions. Now, why is that? You have to look at the verbs. I saw, I remember, I can guess. Okay, helping verb. I noticed. What kind of verbs are these? Do your verb test. State the action. Noticed or saw, remember, guess. The doer to. I. Who or what it was done to. This is key. I saw. What did you see? You saw how he ate. So it has a direct object. So it's a transitive active verb. I remember. What did you remember? Where he lives. I can guess. What can you guess? Why he left. I noticed. What did you notice? When he arrived. So all of these are direct objects, right? They fulfill the conditions for direct objects. Therefore, though they look like they could be adverb clauses, they're actually all noun clauses in the direct object place. And so she says, the verbs saw, remember, guess, and noticed are all transitive active verbs. The noun clauses which follow them are all direct objects telling what got seen, remembered, etc. Here is one diagrammed, okay? So we see, I saw, let's go down a little bit. We have I saw, right? That's normal. We're used to that. We have our subject, verb, and then we have the direct object, how he ate. So we're going to diagram the whole thing in the direct object place. But that direct object has a subject, he, has a verb, ate. And then the how, what's it doing? Well, it is an adverb, right? It is an adverb. It's just modifying the verb ate. You can think of it almost like saying, I saw he ate how, which sounds strange. In English, we rearrange it. I saw how he ate. So the how here is still an adverb. Only it's a single adverb. It doesn't make this a whole adverb clause. Okay? Now, you must use your brain and figure out what different noun jobs are done by the following noun clauses. Figure out how they should be diagrammed and then check with the answers. So again, all you're doing, same principles. Candy is what he likes. So what is candy? Candy is our subject. We have a verb, is. What he likes. What is what he likes? Well, it comes after is. Is an intransitive linking verb. What he likes is our, what can it be? What can it be? What comes after is? We know it's either going to be a predicate adjective or a predicate noun. In this case, what he likes is a predicate noun because it's a noun clause. So what he likes is a noun. It's just a predicate nominative, predicate noun. Now, what about the second one? What he likes is candy. What is what he likes there? Candy, we know, it's a predicate noun, right? Here's the main verb, is. Okay, but what is what he likes? What position is it in? It's the subject, right? So you're going to diagram these just like you would normally these types of sentences. So let's do number 2. What he likes is candy. So diagram the stuff you know first. Okay, or you can do it in a different way, but just for this one, we'll do it this way. What do we know first? Is, intransitive linking verb. Candy, that is our predicate noun. All right, what he likes, it's a noun clause. How do we diagram it? You got it. We put that little stick man, little hangman. We draw a line, and then we create our subject verb. a new subject verb. So what's the subject? Oops. He likes. So he is our subject. Likes is the verb. Let's put li because I drew it too small. And what? He likes what? So what is a direct object? Just like that. The noun clause is the subject. Any noun job, you can put a noun clause. That's the principle. Any noun job, you can put a noun clause. I care about what he likes. Look at this one. We got our subject, we got our verb, care, and then about. About is a what? It's a preposition. So then what he likes is a noun clause, but it's the object of a preposition. So think how you're going to diagram it. You do a normal, like you normally would. You do a normal preposition. Let me use a different color so it comes out on the black. You do a normal. About would go here on this line. And then what he likes would go here, but because it's the object of preposition and it's a noun clause, you got to do little hangman, right? And then you'll do this, right? And about would go here, and so on, okay? You gave what he likes no consideration. Now, oops. Now for this one, you gave what he likes no consideration. You gave, you is the subject. Where's our verb? Gave, right? So use our subject. Gave is the verb. What he likes, no consideration. Got to ask yourself, where's the direct object? You gave, what is it? Where is the direct object? You gave consideration. That's the direct object. No is modifying consideration. What kind of consideration? No consideration. So then, what is what he likes? You gave this no consideration. Let me give you another, let me give you the sentence. You gave, that will help you. You gave Kodak no consideration. He was a bad rapper. You gave Kodak no consideration. What is Kodak there? Think about it. Indirect object. So in this one, what he likes is an indirect object. That's fine because it's a noun job. Okay, so work with these and diagram them. Answers in the back of the book to double check. But make sure you recognize any noun job, you can put a noun clause and you'll be fine. And then diagram with the little hangmans.